The forecast for China's economic growth this year is 6.5%, while monetary and fiscal policies are expected to remain accommodative. The annual Central Economic Work Conference concluded 3 weeks ago with plans to further open the economy to attract more foreign investment. Optimism over the economy outlook is rising.
We are relatively positive. We regard it as a soft landing, and it should be positive for the valuations because the concern over hard landing will be disappeared.
When you look at the development of China, it's not that bad, but given the external environment and the economic transformation that China is facing, you can say cautious optimistic because China is still having expected growth of 6.5%, which is pretty high by international standard, but China got a lot of problems. If it passes through successfully, there will be another period of rapid growth.
Beijing policymakers have been compelled to fight the real estate bubble with restrictive cooling measures, leaving it with delicate challenge in 2017.
So if China really want to maintain a more healthy real estate market, you got to open up or improve or even reform the financial market so as to diversify people's needs first. Otherwise, people will just get all the money and put all the eggs into one basket.
Meanwhile, China's Ministry of Commerce says the yuan will further depreciate 3 to 5% versus the US dollar in 2017. Goldman Sachs echoed this forecast, saying the exchange rate will hit 7.3 by the end of this year.
The strong dollar will also make the Chinese tourism more attractive to those who have strong currencies on hand. But the export side, they will benefit from the depreciation of the RMB. But for those kind of retail sales, that may hurt.
Beijing is determined to keep the money inside the country. The central bank says it will subject smaller currency transactions to closer scrutiny. The tighter controls will start in July this year to ease market sentiment. Economist Raymond So says stricter rules were the only option.
China got no choice but to control capital at this moment because the system is not ready.
Another economist fears tighter control would trigger investor panic.
Kind of like it could backfire in a sense like if you do more interventions and people get even more scared about the whole situation.
Andy says Beijing should stimulate internal consumption to slow down the capital outflow.
Maybe cutting more taxes, maybe doing more public spending, some kind of injection to the economy. If the psychology is still good, people believe the economy is still healthy, they still spend money.
Trade with the U.S. accounted for 18% of China's total exports. But incoming U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has promised a tougher stance on trade with the mainland. He's created a new body to oversee the country's trade relationships and a China skeptic as its head. Expectations in Beijing are not rosy.
Trump is trying to protect the U.S. industry. So in this case, this will kind of hurt the Chinese export.
But he adds a weaker yuan may actually help to ease the situation, neutralizing any new barriers raised by Washington. Andy predicts the Trump administration will urge the U.S. Federal Reserve to speed up interest rate increases.
He favors a little bit high level of interest rate. That will put a lot of pressure on the Fed. So you will see the Fed is going to raise interest rate more than one time.
Hong Kong will be under pressure to follow, likely hurting interest-sensitive sectors like finance and real estate, major drivers of the city's economy. The International Monetary Fund has identified several main risks for Hong Kong: rising interest rates, global market volatility, and a possible downturn in the local property market. It forecasts economic growth next year will only be 1.9%. Citigroup forecasts property prices in Hong Kong will drop as much as 15%. Inflation will hit a modest 2% for the year. And a survey of 96,000 employees across the city shows they will get an average of 3.5 to 3.8% pay rise this year.
Your salary is not increased by a big margin, so people will have hesitation to spend.
So where is a safe place to put money this year?
In 2017, I think there's no real safe haven because usually we refer to safe haven as gold, but given the situation, interest rate in U.S. will go up, and that will support the U.S. dollar. Then usually strong U.S. dollar, rising interest rate will not be positive for the gold prices.
I would advise people to hold more cash because strong U.S. dollars means relatively strong Hong Kong dollars. If you hold cash, if the economy is really slowing down and the asset prices are coming down, if you hold cash, you can buy low.
And so it will be a waiting game for investors, as the forecasts for the HSI are rather optimistic, saying the index will hit 25,000 in 2017.
For China economic situation, with a stabilizing GDP figures and improving corporate earnings, it is fundamentally positive for the Hang Seng Index.
Investors are advised to pick anti-cyclical stocks.
Like fast food companies. When you have a slow economy, people will not go to restaurant, they will go to fast food chain to eat.
Analysts say tech-related industries like information technology still enjoy very handsome potential growth and remain an option for investors this year. They are not affected by the depreciation of the yuan or by U.S. interest rate moves.